Hello and welcome. Tonight, jubilation continues for All Progressives Congress as it relishes victory in the Edo governorship election. Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Edo Governor-elect join party members in Abuja. Candidates of the PDP and Labour Party in the Edo election expressed concern, alleged massive falsification of results, say action betrays the trust of the people in the electoral process. And Federal Executive Council congratulates Monday Okpebolo, Governor-elect of Edo State, as police roll out post-election strategy for the state.
And on business news, the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee begins two-day meeting to decide key interest rates.
On sports news tonight, the Knights of Libya up to host Group D leaders, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, in their 2025 AFCON qualifiers in the city of Benina on October the 15th.
From the nation's capital, Nigeria again calls for the reform of the United Nations Security Council to give just representation to Africa on a permanent basis and deepen global peace and security.
And in international news from London, Lebanon's health ministry says at least 182 people have been killed and 700 more wounded in Israeli strikes today.
The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, has congratulated the party's candidate in the just concluded Edo governorship election, Mr. Monday Okpebolo, over his victory at the poll. Speaking in Abuja at the headquarters of the party, Abdullahi Ganduje appreciates all members of the party and other stakeholders who he believes contributed to the success of the APC. Mr. Ganduje, while officially shutting down the party situation room in Abuja, says lessons learned from the election will help the party retain the governorship seat in Ondo State come November this year.
Members of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in a jubilant mood following their victory at the just concluded Edo governorship election. The governor-elect acknowledges the votes and vows to fulfill his campaign promises to the people of the state.
I would like to emulate what Akpabio has done in Akwa Ibom State. Edo will receive a new transformation. By the grace of God, Edo is back again.
The president of the Senate and a former governor of Edo State share their thoughts on the outcome of the election.
This is a turning point in the politics of Edo State. The will of God has been done today. I regard this day as a day of liberation. Everything and anything that God cannot do does not exist. Thank you. And that is why when ordinary men and women boast of their power, those with wisdom knows that power resides only with God.
An elated national chairman of the party is full of appreciation for the governor-elect and all party faithful.
This exercise was a difficult exercise because we were competing with a sitting government. Not only a sitting government, with a governor who was one of our own before. You know, children of the same father with different mothers. When there's always a contest, it is always very keen. So we did not part well. We parted in pieces when he left our party, the PDP.
The North Central Elders Forum of the party are also here to share in the victory. They also congratulate the national chairman for his victory at the Federal High Court.
The second success that we recorded this morning is our winning the suit that was filed against you before the Federal High Court. For your removal as the national chairman, we are happy that the suit was struck out.
The party is promising to take the same energy into the Ondo State governorship election.
Mixed reactions have been trailing the announcement of the Edo governorship election results and declaration of Monday Okpebholo as winner of Saturday's election. While celebration continues in the camp of the victorious All Progressives Congress, some other contestants in the race allege the outcome of the election would have been different if certain unlawful actions, including alleged vote buying, had not been introduced into the exercise. The candidates of the PDP and the Labour Party, in separate interactions with journalists in Benin City, the Edo state capital, on Monday, shared their observations. The police, on their part, say they worked to ensure the election was violence-free. They also revealed they have made some arrests, recovered weapons and ammunition, and are continuing investigation into suspected violation of the law during the exercise.
Their lamentations ring hollow.
This press conference in Benin City, the Edo state capital, gives the Labour Party governorship candidate in the 21st September election, Olumide Akpata, the opportunity to share his observations on Saturday's election and its outcome. He says the election was far from the people's expectations.
I hold no sympathy for the PDP, who now cry foul after being outmaneuvered in this macabre game of thrones. They willingly participated in the bidding war with the APC, fully aware of the rules from the outset. Their lamentations ring hollow in the face of their own complicity in this democratic travesty. As for the APC and the governor-elect, their actions have undermined the democratic process, betrayed the trust of the very people they seek to lead, and eroded faith in our democratic institutions.
In a recorded message, the governorship candidate of the PDP, Aso Ighodalo, also reacts to the election and INEC's declaration.
Together, we ran a great campaign, and the overwhelming support was evident in the ballots before our progress was unjustly halted on September 21st, 2024, by people who do not mean well for you or for our state. That day will forever be etched in our history as one of our darkest moments, marked by the brazen theft of our mandate and the shameful subversion of the will of the people.
Aside from the contestants, the police in the post-election address maintained they were both fair and firm in carrying out the election duties, making arrests where necessary.
For now, we have a total number of 6 suspects in our custody, but we expect that this number will likely go up as we begin to expand and deepen our investigations. A total number of 58 voters' cards that were in unlawful possession of a suspect were recovered. Some stolen or illicitly acquired beavers machines were equally recovered, while we equally recovered cash, some amounts in cash.
They also disclosed that no casualty was recorded all through the exercise.
Throughout this election, there was no single death recorded. The election was violence-free. There was no recorded incident of the kidnap, assault, or molestation of any INEC staff or other persons, other stakeholders involved in the elections.
The coming days are sure to bring in more observations on the election, with the desire that concerns raised receive the necessary attention. Jessica Luguse, Channels Television News.
The Federal Executive Council, chaired by President Bola Tinubu, has congratulated the All Progressives Congress and its candidate on emerging victorious in the Edo State governorship election held on Saturday. Before the deliberation of the day, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, on behalf of the Council, commended President Tinubu for his commitment to the electoral process. He said the Edo governorship poll has been adjudged free, fair, and credible.
I want to use this opportunity, Mr. Chairman, to congratulate the people of those states, particularly the APC family, properly guided the leader and father of the APC, in their fantastic outing, recording a huge victory, which had eluded the APC for over 8 years. The elections have been adjudged to be free and fair. And that is what Mr. President has always stood for. I want to thank you, Mr. President, for being committed to the electoral process and the ethos of democracy.
More reactions continue to trail the result of Saturday's governorship election in Edo State, with the People's Democratic Party and the Accord Party describing it as lacking credibility. While the candidate of the Accord Party, Mr. Bright Enabulele, says the exercise was fraught with irregularities and malpractices, the acting national chairman of the PDP maintains that the results announced by the electoral umpire were manipulated. The PDP is also calling on the Independent National Electoral Commission to revisit the results of the governorship poll.
Areas elect new leaders at
the Saturday's governorship election in Edo State may have come and gone. However, some of the political parties that participated continue to react to the outcome of the exercise. At the headquarters of the People's Democratic Party in Abuja, the acting national chairman of the PDP, Mr. Umar Damagum, alleges there was massive rigging and connivance with electoral and security officials.
Results obtained from the polling unit show our candidate, Dr. Aswe Egodale, clearly won the election before the figures were altered at the state coalition exercise in favor of the defeated APC candidate. The PDP therefore unequivocally rejects the final result of the Edo State governorship election as declared by INEC.
The PDP is also calling on the Independent National Electoral Commission to revisit its decision on the Saturday governorship election.
The PDP demands that INEC, within the time stipulated by Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2022, review the Edo State governorship election and announce results only as obtained from the genuine votes cast at the polling units.
In a similar reaction, the Edo State governorship candidate for the Accord Party, Mr. Bright Enabulele, describes the election as fraught with irregularities and malpractices.
I have problems with the way the election was conducted. When something has to do with human interference, we're in 24th century. There should be a trust process. I had a chance to vote in this election. Yes, it was peaceful. At my ward, 5 Ikobaha, Unit 1. There's a difference between peace and credibility. The election was peaceful, doesn't mean it was credible. There was a lot of things that could go wrong. There was a lot of voter suppressions. There was a lot of intimidation. There was a lot of vote buying. And I believe that there's a constitution and provision in place to challenge what INEC has done.
INEC had on Sunday declared the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Monday Okpebolo, winner of the Saturday election after polling 291,667 votes to beat his closest contender, Mr. Aswe Ighodalo of the PDP, who polled 247,274 votes according to the electoral umpire.
In part 2 after the break, INEC declares the All Progressives Congress as the winner of the 27 local governments and 305 wards, chairmanship and councillorship seats in the just concluded local government elections in Imo State. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Jubilation continues for All Progressives Congress as it relishes victory in the Edo governorship election. Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Edo Governor-elect joined party members in Abuja. Candidates of the PDP and Labour Party in the Edo election expressed concern, allege massive falsification of results, say action betrays the trust of the people in the electoral process. And Federal Executive Council congratulates Monday Okpebolo, Governor-elect of Edo State, as police roll out post-election strategy for the state. We're staying with the Edo governorship election, where the governorship candidate of the PDP, Asue Ighodalo, has been reacting to the outcome of the poll, describing it as an exercise fraught with irregularities.
My good people of Edo State, first, in all things, we must give thanks to God Almighty. We give thanks to God for the gift of life, the gift of health, and for the love you all have shown me. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who has stood by us on this incredible journey. I would like to particularly thank the good people of Edo State who defied the rains, the intimidation, the threats of violence, harassment, arrests, and financial inducements to cast their votes for us overwhelmingly last Saturday, 21st September 2024. You are the true heroes of our democracy, and your sacrifices for a better Edo State will never be forgotten. My aspiration was not born out of the love for power, but a genuine desire to serve the people and create a pathway to prosperity for all in Edo State. I traveled through every ward and every local government area, sharing this message and engaging in meaningful conversations with you. To all our beloved supporters, we thank you for believing in this vision, for your countless hours of dedication, and for every conversation you've had with people about this cause. Together, we ran a great campaign, and your overwhelming support was evident in the ballots before our progress was unjustly halted on September 21st, 2024 by people who do not mean well for you or for our state. That day will forever be etched in our history as one of our darkest moments, marked by the brazen theft of our mandate and the shameful subversion of the will of the people. Yet, in the face of this challenge, we must not be discouraged. The illusory triumph of evil over good is only temporary. Our journey towards a prosperous Edo State does not end here. It is just beginning. Let us remain engaged, committed, and united in our collective resolve to create a pathway for prosperity for all in Edo State. You did not abandon me during our campaign, and I promise you, by the grace of God Almighty, that as we face a daunting and uncertain future together, I will not abandon you. God Almighty bless the people of Edo State. God bless the people of Nigeria, and I thank you all.
Major political parties involved in the Edo governorship election cannot claim innocence of vote buying. That's coming from the executive director of Yaga Africa, Mr. Samson Itodo. He adds that voter intimidation was also very visible, and this may have led to the low turnout of voters, and that it's necessary that a lot of work will be done in the future to inspire confidence in the people. Mr. Itodo was a guest on our breakfast program, The Morning Brief.
All of the parties are complicit, in the infractions that happened in the course of this election. All, at least the major political parties, were all involved in vote buying. It is out there in our midday situational statement. We were very clear and identified local governments where votes were bought for 10,000 naira per voter. And it's really disappointing. You can actually say that the turnout is purchased turnout. You can also say that the choices that they expressed was compromised because it wasn't out of free will, because in some cases where we observed, vote buying, the whole secrecy of the ballot was not guaranteed. You had mercenaries who sat right in front of the ballot box, right in front of the voting cubicle. And when people cast their votes, they display who they voted for, and then they receive, the cash. The role that security agencies played in the course of the collation process. And I think that the police needs to thoroughly investigate some of the actions taken by its officers in the course of the results collation. People didn't show up to vote in this election. And that is disturbing because this downward trend really suggests that we have a lot of work to do to continue to inspire confidence on the part of people.
The Federal Executive Council meeting has approved the establishment of a disaster relief fund to enhance quick response to victims of disasters across the country. Now, the Council gave the approval at its meeting, which was chaired by President Bola Tinubu at the State House, Abuja. Well, the Federal Executive Council also gave approval to an executive bill to be known as the Economic Stabilization Bill, which seeks to strengthen fiscal and monetary policies in the country. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
President Bola Tinubu arrives at the council chamber at the State House to chair the Federal Executive Council meeting. On the front banner is the devastating impact of flood disasters across the country, particularly the situation in Maiduguri, Borno State capital, which has impacted lives and farmlands. FEC is concerned about the humanitarian crisis in the aftermath of the disaster and approves some stringent measures to forestall a recurrence.
The Federal Executive Council have constituted a committee to look into not only the Alao Dam, but other dams in the country, to reassess them and come up with recommendations that will solve the challenge of flooding.
Mr. President did direct that a disaster relief fund be set up. This will focus on the financing and bringing together the funding from across the spectrum.
The Federal Executive Council also gives approval for executive bills that border on the fiscal and monetary policies.
The Federal Executive Council did pass for onward transmission to the National Assembly the economic stabilization bills. It contains, for example, items that change the Foreign Exchange Act, give greater liquidity.
FEC also made approvals for the construction and reconstruction of some roads in the Federal Capital Territory and across some states of the Federation.
We are also proposing for all our federal highway that we are tolling. We are not only putting solar light, we are also putting CCTV camera, have relief stations where observation will happen, and so that will eliminate all the road blockage.
The Council also approved the establishment of a National Citizens Value Brigade in primary and secondary schools to promote national values and reorientation.
There was an approval of the inclusion of the National Values Charter and the national symbols to be made mandatory, not just in our curriculum, in the teaching of civic education, but also among appointees of government.
Meanwhile, FEC has approved the acquisition of 200 tractors and 100 combined harvesters at a cost of $70 million, which will be delivered in 6 months as part of the Renewed Hope mechanization program to transform the agriculture sector. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
So let's now head to the nation's capital, where Markwe Ogun Yusuf is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Markwe.
Hello, Ayo. It's good to see you. We're starting off in the United States. Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in New York to represent Nigeria at the 79th United Nations General Assembly, UNGA. The Vice President touched down at the John F. Kennedy International Airport earlier today, where he was received by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, amongst others. As directed by President Bola Tinubu, Vice President Shettima is leading Nigeria's delegation to this year's UNGA, where he'll deliver Nigeria's national statement and participate in various high-level meetings. Staying with UNGA, Nigeria has emphasized its repeated call for the reform of the United Nations Security Council to give just representation to Africa on a permanent basis to deepen global peace and security. This is part of the position put forward by the Minister of Defense, Mr. Abubakar Badaru, during his presentation at the Interactive Dialogue on Enhancing Multilateralism for International Peace and Security on the margins of the UN General Assembly in New York. Our correspondent Larry Lasisi has a report on this and other events that held on the sidelines of the global event.
It's a gathering of world leaders for the Summit of the Future, a high-level event organized by the United Nations taking place at the UN headquarters in New York. It's an occasion to discuss and promote global cooperation on pressing issues and address critical global challenges. The Minister of Defense made a presentation at an interactive dialogue on enhancing multilateralism for international peace and security, which took place on the sideline of the summit.
From 1960 in Congo, we have been in 41 different United Nations missions to provide security across the world. Based on that background and the effort of Africa, we also call on the United Nations to reform the United Nations Security Council so that Africa can have a permanent seat. It is time, we deserve it, for justice and for equity and for inclusiveness.
The Minister of Youth Development believes some of these meetings will mobilize resources for the country.
We've gotten a commitment and we're in the process of going into a memorandum with the Brazilian government in the area of agriculture, because we know that Brazil's economy was developed on agriculture, and we're at that point where the nation needs more young people's energies channeled towards development in agriculture space.
Some state governors also highlight the importance of these meetings to their states.
We just had a meeting now with a company that is in charge of energy. And they're really doing well, and they have the financial capacity to be able to partner with states like Nigeria. So it's an opportunity for Zamfara now to key into these guys so that it will be nice to have proper power in Zamfara State, because that will lead to development.
This first meeting, speaks about developmental and then interconnectivity of electricity. We need some investor to come in and see areas of partnership.
Plateau State, as you know, is one of the early states that took advantage of the liberalization of the power sector. And so we're looking at how to develop capacity in that sector so that we can move from just putting the framework in place to making it a reality.
These meetings are expected to continue into the week as the United Nations General Debate commences on Tuesday, the 24th of September. From New York, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
And that's all from our Abuja studios. It's back now to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Markwe. Still ahead on the news at 10, Central Bank Monetary Policy Committee begins two-day meeting to decide key interest rates. That's on Business News. Please join us again. As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark this year's International Day of Peace, declared by the United Nations General Assembly in 1982, the Director General of the Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution, Mr. Joseph Ochogu, is advocating the need for peaceful coexistence among Nigerians. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, Mr. Ochogu says the world is faced with numerous challenges, including economic downturn, inequity, natural disasters, weak institutions, poor governance, marginalization, and violent conflicts that needs to be managed. He adds that these issues have adversely affected nations globally, including Nigeria, as the country has over time experienced a huge loss of lives and humanitarian crisis resulting from diverse forms of violent conflicts recorded across communities.
The 2024 edition of the Peace Day commemoration focuses on how a culture of peace, unity, dialogue, and reconciliation can be entrenched in communities across the world. This explains the rationale for the term cultivating a culture of peace. A culture of peace is needed in the family, is needed in the workplace, is needed in the community level, is needed at local government, state governments, at national government, across political divides. We need to build that culture of peace. If we want a future generation that is sustainable and that is enduring, an intergenerational peace-building mechanism, we need to place it in our lifestyles as individuals, because it is what you give that you can offer. And that is why we are calling for a culture of peace in the lives of individuals as well as institutions. As you are all aware, the world is faced with numerous challenges, including economic downturn, inequity, natural disasters, weak institutions, poor governance, marginalizations, and violent conflicts. These issues have adversely affected nations globally, including our dear nation, Nigeria. Nigeria has over time experienced a huge loss of lives and humanitarian crisis resulting from diverse forms of violent conflicts recorded across communities. Hence the need to build a culture of peace and resilience in our respective communities.
The 2024 edition of Stanbic IBTC SME Collab Clinic, a non-financial way the bank supports its clientele, has taken place in Lagos. According to the team lead, Digital and Enablement Enterprise Banking in Stanbic IBTC Bank, Modupe Banjoko, the program is designed to help SME clients build capacity through learning, networking, and also provide access to the market.
How to build capacity and acquire knowledge to grow business is the focus of this event, and small, medium business owners have come to make the most of the opportunity provided by Stanbic IBTC Bank.
Whether it's catering, whether it's makeup.
The Stanbic IBTC Bank SME Collab Clinic is the bank's non-financial way of supporting its clientele.
I'm certain that we're in great hands and everything is in place. So
the training facilitation is courtesy Enterprise Development Center of the Pan-Atlantic University, with lessons covering entrepreneurship, business model canvas, financial management, as well as digital marketing and selling skills.
So some of us are business owners, but when we hear the word entrepreneurs, we're wondering, your thinking is maybe a Dangote.
With the essential tools provided, the bank believes small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, are being empowered for economic growth, entrepreneurial innovation, with much more on offer.
This accounts.
Participants are also expected to build their network, and Stanbic IBTC seizes the opportunity for a short product brief, one of which is the Blue Blossom account.
The Blue Blossom pretty much is a CVP that we've tailor-made for, these women, where they can enjoy concession in our banking and non-bank services. They can also leverage on different channels, niche events, similar capacity building sessions like we're hosting today, which can help them, grow and get their business to the next level.
The bank says it is set to extend the benefits of the SME Collab Clinic to other regions of the country.
Last year, this program, we held it at Abuja and also Rivers State. And before the end of the year, we plan to move to Kano, Kaduna, and as well as Abia State. So it's something that we'll continue to be doing because we have this passion to promote SMEs in Nigeria.
As for the participants, this is a journey worth embarking on.
It would help me to better my business, help me grow my business more.
I want to say a very big thank you to Stanbic IBTC for really having us in mind and for helping us.
With the 2024 SME Collab Clinic already in motion, Stanbic IBTC Bank would hope that the aim of bringing a transformative experience for all participants is achieved.
Business News is up next with Will Ibom.
Thank you, Ayotunde. The Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, of the Central Bank of Nigeria has begun its two-day policy meeting in Abuja. This meeting, taking place September the 23rd and 24th, will decide on key lending rates that impact the broader economy. Analysts are expecting the MPC to maintain the benchmark interest rate at its current level. In the last meeting held in July, the committee raised the monetary policy rate, MPR, by 50 basis points from 26.25% to 26.75%. Meanwhile, Nigeria's inflation rate showed a slight improvement in August, dropping to 32.15% from 33.4% in July, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Market watchers are closely monitoring how these developments will influence the MPC's final decision. The Director General of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kade, is urging President Bola Tinubu to direct government agencies to focus on attracting investments into the manufacturing sector. Mr. Ajayi-Kade, who made this known in a statement, emphasizes the country's need for long-term impactful investments, not quick short-term foreign investors. He highlights the importance of foreign direct investment, FDI, that can boost productivity and add real value to the economy. Now, the average retail price of petrol stood at 830 naira 46 kobo per litre in August, reflecting a 32.51% increase compared to 626 naira 70 kobo in the same period last year. On a month-to-month basis, petrol prices also rose by 7.78% from 770 naira 54 kobo in July. Diesel prices also increased, rising by 1.93% to 1,406 naira 5 kobo in August from 1,379 naira 48 kobo in July. Also, we see the average retail price for refilling a 5 kg kilogram, that's a 5 kg kilogram cylinder of cooking gas, rising by 7.62% in August 2024 from 5,974 naira 55 kobo in July to 6,430 naira 2 kobo. Year on year, the price jumped by 56.25% from 4,115 naira 32 kobo in August 2023. Benue and Sokoto had the highest average price for cooking gas at 7,000 naira, while Rivers and Borno followed closely. The lowest price was recorded in Taraba at 5,600 naira 67 kobo, while Abuja and Kogi were slightly higher. Now let's check in on the domestic stock market, which opened the penultimate trading week of September in the green. John Mekwa has the details.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, it's a good way to start the week at the NGX, retaining the positive sentiment that the market closed with. The market gained 8 billion naira today, sustaining the 56 trillion naira for the market cap, 56.536 trillion naira, and still building on the 98,000 level. I wish we would go a bit faster, but this is where we are. 0.14% for the all share. The Fugas, not all of them did this today. FBN Holding, been going with this way and the other, but for today, FBN Holding contributed a lot to that, 2.55% in the positive. UBA also did that. For the rest, they didn't do so much to what the Fugas did, but banking is up. Very up, almost 1%, 0.95% for banking as a sector this time. Consumer goods is also up. There you have it, 0.24%. Consumer goods because of flour mill, Guinness, Nigerian breweries, and PZ, oil and gas. Well, the surge seems to have taken a break for Oando and Japol Gold, so we see that in the red. So the good thing is, on this Monday, we have the bull beginning the week.
And that's a wrap on business news. It's back to you, Ayotunde.
Thank you, Will. More than dozens have been killed and more than 700 others wounded in Israeli strikes just today, which is considered the deadliest day in the conflict between militant group Hezbollah and the IDF. Now, the Israeli bombardments are said to be continuing in southern Lebanon, including around the coastal city of Tyre. Here's Simon Pusey with other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 182 people have been killed and 700 more wounded in Israeli strikes today. Israel says strikes against Hezbollah are deepening as citizens in southern Lebanon have received phone messages warning them to leave places used by the Iran-backed group. A Lebanese minister calls the messages psychological war.
We began striking terrorist targets throughout Lebanon.
While Israel's defense minister says strikes will continue until we achieve our goals to return the residents of the north safely to their homes. Fears of an all-out regional conflict in the Middle East have grown in the past week. Cross-border attacks have ratcheted up after a series of exploding device attacks on Hezbollah members, which were widely blamed on Israel. Sri Lanka's new president, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, has been sworn into office, promising clean politics as the country recovers from its worst economic crisis. The left-leaning Dissanayake has cast himself as a disruptor of the status quo, and analysts see his victory as a rejection of corruption and cronyism that has long plagued the country. The election was the first since 2022, when discontent over the economy fueled mass protests and chased the former president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, from power. The 55-year-old, who is familiarly known as AKD, told Sri Lankans that democracy doesn't end with voting in a leader. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to present a plan for victory in the country's war with Russia to President Joe Biden during this week's visit to the United States. Mr. Zelensky also intends to present the plan to Congress and the two candidates in the U.S. presidential election, Democrat Kamala Harris and Republican Donald Trump. He is expected to ramp up efforts to persuade the U.S. and its allies to allow Ukraine to fire the missiles they supplied deep into Russian territory for the first time in the war. Zelensky's visit to the U.S. coincides with efforts from the White House to prepare a new $375 million military aid package for Ukraine. A transcript from a key meeting at the firm behind the ill-fated Titan submersible has revealed that the CEO said in 2018, "No one is dying under my watch." It captures a heated exchange between OceanGate's chief, Stockton Rush, and his former director of marine operations, David Lockridge, plus 3 other staff. The document was released by the U.S. Coast Guard as part of its inquiry into the June 2023 disaster, when the sub imploded while journeying to the Titanic shipwreck. All 5 passengers were killed, including Rush. Sudan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Hussein Awad Ali, has called for reform of the United Nations and criticized it for what he called a double standard at the UN Summit of the Future. His comments come one day after the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres expressed his alarm at the full-scale assault on the Sudanese city of Al-Fashir by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Earlier this week, Sudan's army and the RSF said they are open to peaceful solutions to a war that has been ongoing for more than 17 months. British Finance Minister Rachel Reeves has been interrupted by a pro-Palestinian protester as she gave a speech at the Labour Party conference in Liverpool. TV footage showed the protester being removed from the conference hall by security after shouting, "We are still selling arms to Israel." Ms. Reeves resumed her speech after a short pause and received a standing ovation from delegates. Britain suspended 30 of its 350 arms export licenses with Israel earlier this month because there was a risk such equipment might be used to commit serious violations of international human. And after thrashing Werder Bremen 5-0 in a Bundesliga clash to continue their perfect season, Bayern Munich celebrated with a trip to Oktoberfest. Bayern ran out comfortable winners to move up to 12 points from 4 matches, and with a week to go before their next match against champions Bayer Leverkusen, the league leaders have some time to unwind. The world's largest beer festival, the Oktoberfest, opened its tents on Saturday for the 189th time, with millions of visitors from around the world expected to attend the two-week party. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Libya has opted to host Group D leaders, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, at the Martyrs of Benina Stadium in their 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifying match day 4 encounter scheduled for next month. Known previously as Hugo Chavez Stadium, the stadium is a 10,000 capacity facility with an artificial turf. Both countries will do a match day 3 battle at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium on Friday, October the 11th, before the clash in the city at the edge of the Mediterranean Sea on Tuesday, October the 15th. And the Fred King Group have reached agreement with Blue Heaven Holdings over the terms of the sale of Farhad Moshiri's majority stake in Everton. The announcement comes 2 months after the Fred King Group had abandoned plans to buy a majority stake in the Merseyside club after being granted a period of exclusivity. And Barcelona goalkeeper Marc-Andre ter Stegen could miss the rest of the season owing to injury after the Catalan club confirmed earlier today he had completed knee surgery following a tendon rupture. The 32-year-old German international was taken off on a stretcher after falling awkwardly during his team's 5-1 La Liga victory over Villarreal on Sunday. Sports is back to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Chris. And the main news again. The People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has rejected the Edo State governorship election results announced by the Electoral Umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission. Now, the PDP acting national chairman, Umar Damagum, says the PDP will challenge the results declared by INEC in court and has urged the people of Edo State to stay strong and steadfast. And jubilation has continued for the All Progressives Congress as it relished its victory in the just concluded Edo governorship election. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Have a good night and please stay safe.